Today on Investigate TV Plus, a random search is no laughing matter at the Atlanta airport. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Our investigation uncovers black airline passengers are stopped more than the national average. We hear from two celebrity comedians accusing airport police of racial profiling and a cash grab. Plus, a decades-old mega drought in the Southwest creates a flood of concern.
There would be a lot more water for us, and we might be able to grow a couple of crops a year.
We examine conservation efforts and one radical solution to the Western water crisis.
Then, a little girl channels her feelings about an absentee father into something that could help all kids.
I like a lot of books that have meanings in it, and I wanted to write a book.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Drug agents searching passengers at airport gates just moments before they board a plane. But are those searches truly random?
Our investigation uncovered logs showing most of the airline passengers searched at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport are people of color.
Investigator Brendan Keefe shares the story of two well-known passengers now suing the police in federal court.
At the busiest airport in the world, some passengers have an unexpected layover on the jet bridge.
I'm a random search, guys. So he says. So those white folks? And I'm the random search.
These Clayton County narcotics officers searched actor John Ellie. The same thing happened to comedian Clayton English.
When they stopped me on that jet bridge, most of the other people that went past me seemed to be, white people.
English has joined forces with fellow comedian Eric Andre.
It was humiliating and dehumanizing.
Filing a federal lawsuit against Clayton County police accusing airport narcotics officers of racial profiling.
It was degrading. I had all the other passengers squeezing by me on this claustrophobic jet bridge, gawking at me like I was a perpetrator when I had done nothing wrong.
Drugs are rarely found in these jet bridge searches, according to Clayton County narcotics records we obtained. Records that also show local police have seized more than $1 million in cash from passengers. We know that more than 90% of the people they search, they don't seize anything and they don't arrest anyone.
Right. It didn't make sense to me at all. It felt like profiling because who's taking drugs to LA? Weed is legal out there, everything. You're gonna get what, I don't see who's taking it out there. Maybe you should be catching somebody coming in. That might have made sense. How many big dealers have you caught like this? Is this how you caught El Chapo? And then once I was actually given the statistics, I'm like, oh, okay. That's never what it was about.
The comedians cite national statistics showing 8% of air travelers are black. Their lawsuit accuses Clayton County officers of stopping black passengers at a rate 7 times that national average. In a little more than a year and a half, Clayton County officers searched more than 360 passengers on the jet bridge. That's enough to fill 2 737 jetliners. Travel statistics show 1 out of every 3 airline passengers is a person of color. But according to Clayton County logs, their officers searched passengers of color at double that rate. Black passengers overall made up the majority of those searched, 54%. And black men were by far the largest group. 46% of passengers stopped on the jet bridge.
The odds of it being random and it coming out to where all the people that you're pulling over are black people, are people of color, or some ethnic group, it's no, there's no way this is random.
There was a handful of black people. My flight was full. So let's say it was 200 people on the flight and maybe 5 to 10 black people on the flight period.
You didn't see any white people stopped getting on your flight?
No, absolutely not.
Film director Tabari Sturdivant was also boarding a flight to LA when he was searched by federal drug task force officers.
I travel around the world and I've seen different things. I've seen random, you put your ticket on it, boop, this is a random check all over the world. Why am I in my hometown, Atlanta, Georgia, that, you can totally humiliate me and disregard my rights?
We tracked the plainclothes task force officers through the airport. Records show the federal agents describe the searches as random, consensual encounters. But the same records detail how they selected specific passengers. observed a man who appeared nervous.
Why you? Why did they pick you?
I had a black hoodie on. I had an expensive duffel bag around my back. I had some expensive shoes on.
That's not a crime.
It's not a crime.
But designer bags show up repeatedly in the federal forfeiture filings and DEA evidence photographs. Brown Gucci bag, black Louis Vuitton backpack.
They're saying Atlanta to Los Angeles is a drug trafficking route.
Right.
But it's also a route for entertainment. Black man with a designer bag flying to LA might be in the film industry, not the drug industry.
Right. The only reason I can think is because they look like they're not supposed to have something that nice. Or you think that this person shouldn't be able to afford this item based off their skin color.
This is the form DEA agents were required to fill out 20 years ago, showing the race and ethnicity of passengers they searched. But the Department of Justice Inspector General discovered the DEA has not collected any such data regarding cold consent encounters since 2003, in part because there were too many in a day. The IG report said the Department of Justice noted cold consent encounters are more often associated with racial profiling.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm not even allowed to get on a plane to go do work without being, profiled.
The Clayton County search logs are heavily redacted, but we were able to see behind those redactions, showing that the local officers received training from the DEA task force in a 3-day federal program called Operation Jetway. We got those records from attorneys for the two comedians, but when we asked for the same exact records directly from Clayton County, the section about officers getting federal training wasn't redacted, it was completely missing.
You're taking people's money based off an assumption, not facts, not evidence, and it's really not much recourse for the people. So yeah, something definitely needs to be done.
The DEA and Clayton County Police would not answer our questions about the airport seizures. As for Clayton English and Eric Andre's lawsuit, it was dismissed by a federal judge who said the men were free to walk away from the consensual searches. The two comedians have filed an appeal of the lower court ruling to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta. If you're approached by a drug agent at an airport gate, attorneys tell us the magic words are, "Am I free to go?" But in several cases we've reviewed, drug agents told passengers who refused to give consent that they'd get a drug dog, a warrant, or some other delay that could make them miss their flight. Our in-depth coverage continues online. You can watch Brendan's reports on asset forfeiture on InvestigateTV.com. Just search In Plain Sight on our website.
A trip to the doctor's office could come with the additional headache of paperwork. Still to come, we show you how to be your own investigator before you fill out any medical form. But first, a water crisis in the West could have far-reaching implications.
Right now, the water is off, and so we don't have any more water coming to us. And we're getting low on allocation on this farm as well.
We examine the solutions to keep reservoirs full and how one city is playing with house money thanks to their conservation efforts. You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
$35 million people across the U.S. Southwest face a critical threat experts say is getting worse: a shrinking water supply. Meteorologists say climate change means record hot summers and warmer winters with less snow.
Over the past several years, the largest reservoirs in the West have hit record low levels. This includes the Colorado River, 80% of which supports agriculture.
Reporter Jacqueline Schultz examines how the impact of Western water woes could be felt far beyond the Southwest.
In Arizona, Susan Kaywood has turned these 300 acres of desert into an oasis.
You pick and choose very carefully what you have, what you can plant.
Kaywood grows alfalfa, corn, and barley, among other things, on her desert farm. She relies on water straight from the Colorado River to keep her crops growing.
Right now, the water is off, and so we don't have any more water coming to us. And we're getting low on allocation on this farm as well.
That's because at the start of 2023, the federal government cut 21% of Arizona's share from the Colorado River after record low water levels at Lake Mead and Lake Powell, the two reservoirs that feed the river. The U.S. Drought Monitor reported water in both lakes dropped to dangerously low levels for much of 2022. These stark images raised awareness about an even bigger concern for the entire Southwest: the possibility of Deadpool, threatening the water supply and power for millions of homes, rendering the mighty Hoover Dam inoperable.
When Lake Mead, the surface of Lake Mead, reaches 900 feet above sea level, that is the point at which no water can pass through Hoover Dam to meet the downstream water needs in Arizona, California, or the country of Mexico. That is considered Deadpool.
Those concerns about a Deadpool situation in the coming decades fueled the push for a radical proposal to help conserve water along the Colorado River. It involves eliminating a current mainstay of the river system, Lake Powell.
There's only room for one lake and one dam, and that should be Lake Mead and Hoover Dam.
Water is currently released from Glen Canyon Dam at Lake Powell to fill Lake Mead through the Colorado River. By draining Lake Powell, more water would naturally flow into Lake Mead, thereby decreasing the chance for Deadpool. Clark County, Nevada Commissioner Tick Segerblum is among those advocating for the proposal. Segerblum also represents the conservation group, Las Vegas Water Defenders, who, along with at least 9 other organizations, is calling for the Federal Bureau of Reclamation to consider this proposal.
Basically drain it.
That's a pretty dramatic proposal.
It is, and you kind of have to go back in history. It should never have been built.
Environmentalists have argued for years Glen Canyon Dam hurts the Grand Canyon ecosystem. The National Park Service says after the construction of the dam in 1963, Lake Powell flooded the canyons that had been carved out over time, drowning archaeology sites, plants, animals, and irreversibly altering the environment. However, opponents say draining Lake Powell would eliminate the direct water source for the whole Phoenix area.
We oppose any plan to drain Lake Powell. Having 2 very large reservoirs helps the Bureau of Reclamation stabilize the system.
Ben Burr is with the Blue Ribbon Coalition, a conservation group advocating for keeping both lakes. He says both lakes provide hundreds of millions of dollars in economic benefits and jobs for Nevada and Arizona. Thanks to a wet winter in early 2023, both lakes got some relief and saw higher water levels for the first time in years. The boost cooled off tense talks between southwestern states and the urgency for more severe cuts. The federal government eased restrictions for 2024. Kaywood wants that relief to trickle down to farmers.
There's a lot of people that don't think that farmers should be on this desert, but we can grow crops seasonally all year round. So we can provide a lot of food for the nation.
Nevada, Arizona, and California did compromise on cuts through 2026, and they did take farmers' concerns into account. It's cutting overall water use by 13%, or what 9 million households would typically use in a year. So what comes next after 2026? The feds are looking ahead. They've gotten more than 20,000 comments and hundreds of letters from government agencies, nonprofits, and other entities weighing in on different solutions. Federal leaders have not responded to our questions about the Lake Powell debate, but they are set to release a draft of plans in late 2024. In Las Vegas, I'm Jacqueline Schultz.
Southern Nevada, which includes Las Vegas, receives 90% of its water supply from the Colorado River, but they've beaten the odds by becoming a model for water conservation. The community reduced its water use by 51% between 2002 and 22, even as the population increased by more than 745,000 residents.
The Southern Nevada Water Authority says, among other things, it spends millions to get homeowners to install desert landscaping. No new golf courses have been built, and there are water limits on the existing courses. They've set restrictions on residential pools, and no new water features or fountains are allowed on the Las Vegas Strip.
Still to come, a young girl inspired to help other kids after a day she'll never forget.
Lots of cars pass by, but not my dad's.
How the hurt of an empty promise became a story of healing. But first, a trip to the doctor's office could involve mounds of paperwork. Before you fill out any form, we show you how to be your own investigator when it comes to the fine print. Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms.
For many, the amount and complexity of paperwork at the doctor's office can seem overwhelming.
But all those forms are critical to your health. Josie Sturman helps you prepare by being your own investigator.
Whether it's a regular checkup with a doc you've seen for years or you're seeing someone new, going to the doctor involves a lot of paperwork. In this Be Your Own Investigator, we've got what to look for in the fine print before you take that clipboard back to the front desk. Some forms are pretty straightforward, and you're asked for your basic information if you're a new patient or if there are any updates since your last visit. Talking about things like contact details and insurance coverage. This is also where you might see something called a consent to treatment agreement. By signing here, you're giving the medical team official permission to provide you with medical care, things like a physical exam or drawing blood. Most should note you have the right to refuse a procedure or treatment or discuss them with your doctor first. This form may also be where you give the office the okay to file claims with your insurance. And speaking of the money side of things, some doctors' offices may also ask you to sign a form saying you've looked at and fully understand their specific financial policies. Things like appointment no-show fees or what happens if your insurance won't pay. Don't be afraid to ask for more details. For example, if you agree to 24 hours notice, ask what that means if your appointment is on a Monday. Finally, one of the most important documents to pay attention to are those privacy forms. Your healthcare information is protected by a federal law known as HIPAA. It gives you primary control over where your information goes and how. These forms usually cover the release of your information in a couple of different ways. One, general sharing of your health information within the practice so they can provide you with care or deal with your insurance company. And two, more specific disclosures, like sharing your information with another doctor's office or your emergency contact. Overall, the advice here is simple. Don't sign something you haven't read. And if you get lost in the medical mumbo jumbo, just ask the office staff to explain. It's also a good idea to get a copy of all of these documents for your own records. I'm Josie Sturman with this Be Your Own Investigator.
Many medical practices maintain an online patient portal so you can access your medical records on demand. If a provider doesn't have a portal, you would need to request records by phone or mail. Once the request has been made, state laws typically require delivery within 30 to 60 days.
Up next, a little girl with a broken heart.
When you are faced with somebody that lets you down, do not let them get in your way of being great.
Is inspired to fill the cracks with strength and hope.
I love to write and read books, and I like a lot of books that have like meanings in it, and I wanted to write a book.
Zara Doherty is teaching kids and adults a life lesson about promises, pain, and perseverance. Zara wrote a book about what it's like to have an absentee father after her own dad broke her heart by breaking his promise to her.
Reporter Caroline Hecker spoke to this young writer about what she wants other kids and their parents to know about moving past someone or something that's let them down.
Let's see, the first page. Oh, here we go.
They're the things childhood memories are made of.
I wake up to the smell of breakfast and my baby brother babbling to himself.
This is Zara Doherty's story.
I run down the stairs and look out the window.
Of one day she'll never forget.
Lots of cars pass by, but not my dad's.
She waits anxiously. Her dad promised he would pick her up.
After 5 minutes has passed, tears began to build up in my eyes.
A promise broken. It's a story many children know all too well.
When you are faced with somebody that lets you down, do not let them get in your way of being great.
While Zara's experiences may not be unique, she certainly is. The disappointments of an absentee father landed her in therapy, where she learned to channel her emotions, putting pen to paper.
I love to write and read books, and I like a lot of books that have like meanings in it, and I wanted to write a book.
Not only that, but she wanted it published, available for kids everywhere to read.
Even though this is an epidemic in this country, it's also important that kids, they face disappointment all the time. They face, things that make them angry. But the real question is, what tool does that kid have to get through those type of feelings?
One of Zara's tools came in the form of a pencil, and Broken Promise was born, published in May of 2023, making Zara a children's book author.
When somebody breaks a promise, you can't control their, what they do, but you can control what you do.
Broken Promise can be found on the shelves of the St. Louis Public Library, as well as Amazon.
This is something that a lot of kids are facing, but the key is getting in front of these situations so that, children can have a more productive life.
A story of both heartache,
I am kind, I love myself, and I am strong.
And resilience.
The end.
When I'm watching that story, part of me is thinking, look, life can be hard, and it's great that she's learning how to deal with this, but at the same time, she's so young, having to deal with things like that, it's tough.
She is, and now she can help other people as well. And Mom said having the tools to manage your emotions is a positive takeaway.
No doubt about that.
And another positive from Zara's book, she's had 4 book signings and 5 public readings so far. And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching. Next time on Investigate TV Plus, fire departments are a critical service, and more than half across the U.S. are all volunteer.
There's not a lot of people that I come across who are like, man, that sounds great. I would love to take time out of my day for free, go to the firehouse and do all of these things for probably no thank you, no reward, no paycheck.
An in-depth look at the volunteer firefighter shortage and its threat to your safety.